Were really to begin again on this topic, this isn't the first time that I've mentioned this group. It probably won't be the last time, but it's something that I've got to get off my chest, especially after recent events. Basically, for those of you that have not been living underneath a rock for the past week-ish, will know that there was an incident that took place last week in London, in which a soldier was, as far as I can work out, I think he was run over at first and then attacked with a machete, and they tried to behead him or something like that. The attack alone was completely disgusting. There was no need for it. But kind of as soon as the news story came out, certain media organisations were putting it down as a terrorist attack, and I think that was purely done because the attackers were said to be saying things in Islamic or Indian or another language while they were actually carrying out the attack. Now, it has been said since that the motive for the attack is because we still have soldiers over in places like Afghanistan and that sort of place. And I guess on that motive, okay, yeah, I can see where they're coming from, because I never actually saw the point as to why we put soldiers out there in the first place. I didn't really think there was need for us to have soldiers out there. But it turns out that these people thought that this was the way to bring attention to the fact that we've still got soldiers out there, and basically what has been happening out there, you know, just unbelievable amounts of people, innocent people losing their lives and everything like that, and it has been disgraceful. But you know, that's a whole different kettle of fish, and under no circumstance can that ever excuse what happened to the soldier in London. Literally within a couple of hours after that incident in London took place, there's a message that went out on Twitter by a group which is called the EDL, which stands for English Defence League, and they said for their members to gather in Woolwich, which is where the incident took place. They wanted their members there to protest and say, you know, we don't want this sort of thing happening in our country, and that rubbish, whatever they say. The EDL has been around for a number of years. They're not a new group, and they're not the first of the kind, and I'm quite sure that they won't be the last. The EDL originally was set up to oppose Sharia law becoming anywhere close to becoming law in the UK. To me, there has never been a threat of Sharia law actually coming anywhere close to being law in the UK. You know, we are an accepting society. We do have people from all different cultures living in the country, and to a certain extent, yeah, it works. To another extent, it doesn't work. It depends on kind of what side of the fence you're stood on, and you know, what topic you're kind of debating about when it comes to whether a multicultural society actually works or not. Since the EDL has actually been formed, the protests have basically become more violent. Every time that there seems to be a protest, there seems to be arrests made, and there just seems to be trouble following them around wherever they go. But I mean, I guess that's what to expect when most of the members of the EDL, or certainly a large number of them, are football hooligans, and in many cases they're actually already known to the police. What has been happening since the incident with the soldier over here in the UK, as far as the EDL is involved, is absolutely disgraceful, and it is about time that people on the internet stood up and said, you know what, we don't need this. We don't need the EDL supposedly sticking up for England when they're taking out the actions that they are doing. It was in the news last night on the 26th of May to say that there was petrol bombs thrown inside a mosque in Grimsby, and an image that I've just seen again from last night shows a public house completely trashed by EDL members. Now, if the argument for EDL is to oppose Sharia law, exactly how the fuck is trashing a pub going to oppose Sharia law? You know, you've really got to think about the motive here. To me, it just seems that the EDL are basically out there to cause as much trouble as they can. Their actions are no longer acceptable, and they are now starting to break the law by themselves. I mean, okay, it's not a recent thing for them to be breaking the law, but These sorts of actions are not acceptable. If the whole reason that you're going out there to protest is in memory of the soldier and what actually happened to him, then if you think trashing a pub or throwing petrol bombs in a mosque is any way showing respect to what happened, or in respect of the memory of that soldier, then you are completely fucked up in the head, and you seriously need to take yourself off the streets before the police take you off the streets for good. You've probably been able to guess by this point in the video, I'm not a fan of the EDL. I don't actually support them at all. I am in regular contact with several members of their site, their organisation, their group, whatever you want to call it, and I can't find myself actually agreeing with what they say. The EDL actually does seem to be quite a racist group. The EDL themselves, on their official Twitter account, have actually got me blocked, because that many times I've called them out on their bullshit, and I do keep doing it, even though, okay, they can't see it, but their members can. And I will continue to keep calling the EDL out on their bullshit, because they seem to have this opinion that they can put out whatever they want, and it doesn't matter how racist they are or how incorrect they are. Their members will follow, and more trouble will follow when they actually take it out onto the streets. So after having done some research, this is what I found the EDL to actually stand for these days. The first one, of course, is to do with immigration. The EDL seems to have this idea that immigration is completely a bad thing, that a multicultural society cannot work, which proof, yeah. So they are completely against immigration at all. They are completely against other religions being inside the United Kingdom at all. I mean, the fact that they want Christianity to remain in the country, they want Catholics over here, they'll have Christians, that sort of thing. Has anyone actually remembered back in the 90s we had the IRA? Now, what was the IRA? They were heavily connected with the Catholics over in Northern Ireland, and I think that the argument was something to do with wanting Northern Ireland to become part of Ireland again, to be taken out of the United Kingdom. And that's a whole different kettle of fish to be talked about at a different time, but that's what the IRA did. They went around bombing all these different places during the 90s. Did one of the EDL members turn around during that time and go, actually, we shouldn't be having Catholics in this country? No, they didn't. Yet there is one incident, several bombs, but one incident in London years ago now, where there was actually bombs going off, and it seems since then everyone's turned around going, well, we shouldn't have Muslims in this country, we shouldn't have people who follow the Islamic faith in this country. Well, why weren't you saying this during the 90s when the fucking IRA was blowing everywhere up? There also seems to be an intolerance against people who have a different skin colour. There, I said it. None of their members actually admit to actually being racist, as far as I can tell, but they are. Time after time, I've seen the EDL turning out and saying, there was an incident, what was it, a couple of months back? It was to do with a paedophile ring, and because several of the members weren't white, the EDL automatically said, oh, these people are Muslim. Where's the logic in that? I mean, I know of a few people that aren't white that follow the Christian faith, so should they be Muslim because they don't have white skin? Even if they are of a Muslim faith, you can't bring religion into something which has nothing to do with religion. I mean, if we're going to go through things like that, what religion was Jimmy Savile? And how many incidents did he do that broke the law? So if you're going to start criticising other people based on their religion and their actions, well, you need to start doing that for every single person who's actually broken the law. I think you'll find that the results are just a little bit shocking there for you. Like I said before, I genuinely don't have time for the EDL. I think they are an absolute disgrace. They are a shame of the UK at the moment. They are doing nothing to defend the United Kingdom or anything like that. It's absolutely disgraceful. And the longer that this group is allowed to continue, the worse their actions are going to get. So, there was an incident couple of years, I think about 2 years ago now, where Theresa May, who's the Home Secretary of the United Kingdom, and she turned around and said, okay, this group of people, it is now illegal to be in that group, and if we find out that that group is still going, we're going to come after the members and we will take you off the streets. Well, I'm sorry, she needs to do the same about the EDL, because I'll hold my hands up. I've had enough of them. I want them off the streets. I don't like people like that living in the same country as me. I'd actually rather have someone who wants Sharian law in the UK rather than the EDL. And that's me being completely honest. I've had enough of this group, I've had enough of their bullshit, and it's time to end it.